State any restrictions for cosecant theta divided by cotan theta over sine theta. When we're looking for restrictions with trig identities, we need to look at individual trig functions, and then afterwards we need to look at the entire expression and consider the denominator, as the denominator cannot be 0. First, let's look at cosecant theta. Cosecant theta individually, we know that is equal to 1 over sine theta. Therefore, sine theta cannot equal 0. I've drawn the circle over here so that we can look at the circle where sine theta equals 0. Remember, sine theta is linked to the y value. So that will occur at 0, pi, 2 pi, etc. So when we're going to write that, theta cannot equal pi n, where n is the element of integers. Let's look at cotan theta individually. Cotan theta is equal to 1 over tan theta, but for our purposes it'll be easier to think of cosine theta over sine theta. And we consider that, we have sine theta cannot equal 0, because that is in the denominator, and we have the same situation there. So the restrictions so far are the same. Sine theta individually does not have any restrictions. Now let's look at the entire fraction. When we look at the entire fraction, we have to consider where cotan theta cannot equal 0, sine theta cannot equal 0. Let's start with cotan. Cotan theta cannot equal 0. Okay, that means we need to look at the values where cotan was equal to 0. Keeping in mind, we're used to sine with y over x. This is going to be x over y. So when we look in our circle, when we take x divided by y, where do we get 0? So 1 divided by 0 is undefined. 0 divided by 1 is going to be 0. Therefore, at pi by 2, and as well as 0 divided by negative 1, that is also going to be equal to 0. So our non-permissible values are at pi by 2 and 3 pi by 2. So theta, cannot equal pi by 2 plus pi n, where n is the element of integers. And finally, we need to consider sine theta. Because sine theta is in the denominator, it cannot equal 0. Sine theta is the y values, which happens at the 0, pi, 2 pi, etc., just like we've done here. So when we combine these restrictions, it's every 90-degree interval, or pi by 2. Therefore, combining them, theta cannot equal pi by 2n, where n is the element of all integers.